What started out as a routine bike ride on a desert trail soon turns deadly, leaving one man fighting for his life. As triple digits soar and pain from a brutally fractured arm rapidly increases, the only option left is to survive or die.
Don't get it twisted up, confused. In the YouTube challenge, Den fam can't lose. In the Den, it's popping. In the Den, not stopping.
Sin City, known for its glitz, glamour, and lights, where you win some and you most definitely lose some. But this city, just like any other, is filled with beautiful features that nature has to offer. However, the temperatures are known to reach well above 115 degrees Fahrenheit, even with reports of excessive heat warnings. That didn't seem to stop locals Boogie and Latasha from getting out and enjoying the scenery.
I woke up that morning, the day seemed a bit hot. The projected weather for that day was going to be in the triple digits. I figured that if I go out on my bike ride early, I can get it in and get it out.
It was kind of like a weird morning because it had begun getting hot in Vegas. And so usually I'm used to riding bikes, you know, when it's cooler, things of that nature, but I'm one of those people that like to get out there and just, you know, just make things happen if I have a plan. So I'm like, I gotta get my bike ride in.
Most bikers in Nevada tend to ride extremely early morning during summertime to try to beat the scorching desert heat.
My energy was very low that morning, so I didn't eat a big breakfast, but I ate, you know, I feel like I got my nutrition in, you know, with a little bit of oatmeal or whatnot.
May have had a banana that morning and some tea.
As Latasha's history of migraines from the scalding sun would force her to take a shorter trail closer to home, Boogie had other plans and had already been doing research on a trail he had heard about on social media.
I remember kind of being, you know, at a kind of bickering point with me and the wife, but it wasn't nothing major. It was just typical, you know, back and forth relationship stuff.
I went on trails that I felt was suitable.
I didn't want her to go with me to the trail as we normally ride together because I knew the trail had lots of jumps for, you know, mountain bikers, you know, ramps and different things of that nature because I had already researched it, so I'd known this. So, you know, she being who she is, she decided, you know, I'm just gonna go ride, you know, close to the house and, you know, get it in and stuff like that. But I'm always like the you know, extravagant one, so I went and I had to try this trail for myself. But yeah, it wasn't a weird morning, but it was kind of like, you know, the energy was a little sideways.
He decided that day he wanted to try some new trails.
With over hundreds of biking trails in Las Vegas, this trail in particular is known for having lots of simple declines and some extreme jumps. It almost indefinitely holds up to its name, Cleod.
I remember thinking to myself, this is hard.
Cleod 9 is made up of several jagged rocks and long linear trails.
I don't usually struggle. I've gotten used to inclining as riding up the mountain on the biking, but this day felt different. It felt as if I couldn't get to the top, and it wasn't even a steep incline. It was very, it was almost like less than a 45. I must have passed 3 or 4 jumps, and I kept thinking to myself, okay, I'm tired. I'm just gonna hit this jump on the way down. I'm just gonna hit this jump and then I'm gonna get out of here.
Already 20 minutes into the trail, feeling as if he had made a mistake, Boogie knew, no matter what, this was something he had to complete.
As I went higher, I came across this immaculate ramp that was like man-made. And then I remember thinking, don't do it. That's what I heard in my voice, you know, the little voice in my head. And then it's like the devil and angel on one shoulder. And then on the other hand, I heard, do it. I like accomplishment. So what I wanted to do is just do that and get out of there.
Cleod 9 has several man-made jumps built from dirt and rocks. As Boogie glanced at the massive 15-foot jump, compared to the other jumps, this was instantly a must-do, unaware that this jump would change his life forever.
I drive to the top, I set my phone up, and I grab my bike immediately and I get some momentum in the back of the ramp. And I start to ride, and in my mind, I thought, man, I can do this. I can do this. And I kept riding. And so as I got to the top of the ramp, immediately I froze up. And instead of launching from the ramp, I just dropped. I immediately hit the floor, and it was probably like 15 feet or so. I mean, it was pretty high. And so when I hit the ground, I looked back and I saw literally my bone just do something crazy, and blood squirt out, and dust was also rolling down the hill with me. So I screamed out, "What did I do?" And that's when I knew.
He had broken both bones in his left arm, and the radius was protruding through the skin, causing rapid blood loss.
When I first realized that I had completely fractured my 2 bones in my left arm, I thought, I'll never be able to use this again.
With blood rushing from his arm and increased pain, he knew he needed to seek medical attention, and fast.
It was almost horrific, and as I fell to the ground and rolled and tumbled, I still had a little momentum to run over, grab my phone that I had sat down to take video of, with my arm just swinging in the wind because of the dead weight. I managed to run over and grab my phone and call my wife.
Help! Help! I received a phone call from Boogie, and I heard yelling in the background. He was yelling help, saying that he broke his arm, that he was hurt, he needed help.
My arm feels like it's about to explode. Hurry, please.
When I realized that my arm was completely broken and I could not move it, in fact, it felt like I had another person laying on me, because as I laid on the floor, I had my hand laying to my side. And so for the whole time that I lay in the desert, my hand, I didn't really see the injury right on because my arm was kind of behind my back. And so as I'm laying in the dirt, I'm thinking, man, scorpions, and I'm thinking snakes, and I'm thinking coyotes. And
the desert is known for having snakes, scorpions, and coyotes. In Boogie's current state, he would almost certainly become subject to an attack by one of these notorious predators.
I had already been out there for quite some time, on the phone with paramedics and family, and it was like, it was very shocking to know that I couldn't move my hand. It was crazy. And as I glanced back, my arm was, I knew that it was twisted because the wrist was actually pointing in the other direction, and it was just, and as I lay there, the swelling, it was like my hand was being burned, it was inflamed. It was horrendous.
When your husband calls you screaming, saying he's hurt in the desert after doing mountain biking, you don't know what to think, because you don't know how hurt he is, if he's going to recover from what he's hurt from, if it's a minor injury. But I didn't assume that it was a minor injury if he's obviously can't get on his bike and drive out of there. So I knew something bad had happened. I just didn't know how bad.
Everything just flashed before my eyes instantly. I'm not sure, it was crazy.
I responded to what he had told me by telling him to hang up. I was gonna call 911, and I was gonna call him right back. So I hung up, I called 911 to let them know he was hurt and where he was, and I had my daughter call him on her phone, which he didn't answer.
I knew right then and there I had made a mistake. I was terrified.
911 response to my phone call is basically asking a lot of questions about the situation, who he was, who I was, and where he was.
Several paramedics were calling me. They were trying to get me to share my location. They were saying, don't drink your water, just wet your lips if it's very hot out there. So, I stayed neutral. Everyone was talking to me, and I was just trying to really be strong because I knew I had to make it home to my family.
Boogie is now on the phone with a rescue team trying to find his exact coordinates.
No, I'm trying to share my location, but I can't see anything. It's too bright out here.
Meanwhile, Latasha is becoming more and more frustrated as she is also on the phone with paramedics answering basic questions about her husband.
I just assume that they're doing their job and they have to ask these questions, and they're asking these questions for a reason. But in the meantime, I knew he needed help, so I told my children to get in the car and we went out to see if we could find the location he was at.
Latasha and the kids head out to help with the search to find her injured husband.
When I pulled up to the location where he said he was, I did notice his truck was parked over to the side. So I noticed that there were a few rescue there already as well. So the 911 caller told me to go ahead and talk to them. They would take care of me at that point. And we got off the phone.
It's been over 2 hours and Boogie is still bleeding and at risk from wildlife predators.
The search seemed to be ongoing for about a couple hours.
I started thinking, 2 hours, I'm not gonna make it out of here.
There was one lady in particular that kept coming over to me and the children, making sure we were okay. She offered us some water. It was pretty hot out there. And she just kept telling me I was doing a great job. And, so I think in that environment, everyone's trying to stay calm as possible. And they were trying to come up with a plan to find him. And because again, we did not have a location for him other than that was the trail that he was on. And there was lots of trails out there.
It's now well over 2 hours and the rescue team has had no luck locating the injured bike rider.
I guess when I heard them say they needed a helicopter to come in to find him because they couldn't locate him, I kind of knew it was pretty serious then.
When I saw those guys coming over the hill and I saw the helicopter, I was in disbelief. They found me.
They made it.
I was just happy that they had finally found him. I knew it had been a while that he had been out there, and I was also relieved that he finally had medical attention there.
After almost 2.5 hours of terror, the helicopter spots the brutally injured mountain biker. They see him in a deep valley embankment with a man-made ramp sitting above where he lies.
Abdomen? Nope.
Come back to the
Hips? And everything's fine. All right.
I copy. Yeah, better.
Knees?
Go to the
Good to go.
picture in green.
Everything's
Copy
good.
that.
All right, let's see your arms. You good on this one?
Yeah, I'm good. Just a good.
Shoulder hurts?
Just not there. It's okay there.
Oh, here.
No, it's okay there.
Okay.
It gets a little bit. Right. It's okay a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Looks like you have probably a wrist fracture.
Okay.
Probably popped out and went back in.
Whew.
Just so you know. Okay?
Yeah.
Heavy 44. Looks like the litter's moving in the right direction. I copy. Engine 47. Thank you.
All you have is your bike.
That's it.
So they're just moving the litter right now, okay?
What's that mean?
It's just a little basket that we're going to carry you in.
Okay. Well, listen. Thanks for coming, man.
Oh, man. I was on the phone with you the whole time.
That was you?
Yeah, and I was just like, because we sent the crew that way, because that's where that trail goes, that Cleod 9. This is not Cleod 9.
So I got off trail.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Your wife said you do that a lot.
They actually had to hike me out because it was a pretty 20-minute hike in, maybe 25 minutes or so. They hiked in and they had to bring the dune buggy in to kind of wheel me out. And every bump they were hitting, I was like, oh God. I kept feeling it. It was just, I knew it was broken. I remember feeling at that moment the satisfaction of getting out of the desert and, the feeling of just saying, oh my God, I'm not in the desert anymore. And my family was standing there. And I felt like I was blessed.
When the paramedics brought him down, I can see that his arm was dislocated and he was bleeding.
The paramedics were talking to me. They were very friendly. They were coaching me through some things, and I was confused. I was scared. I didn't know what to do.
The paramedics brought him out, put him in a truck, and they helped me get his bike onto his truck and gave me his backpack, which looks like it either had broken with the fall because the strap was broke, or either they cut it.
First thing she does is grabs the morphine and says, "Hey, let me take care of you." And it helped. I could tell you that.
There was a paramedic that actually showed me a jump that he had tried to attempt. And I guess this jump was pretty high, maybe 15 feet high or something. Yes, 15 feet. I thought that he just was on a trail and maybe was going at a high speed and fell, but that wasn't the case. He actually tried to jump over something. Once they put him in a truck, they did inform me that they were going to be taking him to trauma hospital because he would need to have emergency surgery once he got there.
You're going to trauma, correct?
Yeah.
UMC trauma.
Okay.
Take me to trauma, the UMC in Las Vegas, Nevada. And everyone is just crazy. Doctors are moving around. There's 50,000 people coming in, gunshot victims, everybody's there.
UMC is a county-based hospital and also the only trauma facility in the city of Las Vegas.
I remember the doctor talking to me saying, he was a bike rider and all these things and just relax. The whole time my arm was just an excruciating pain. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I started shaking at one point and saying, "Hey, I need some more drugs, man. I need something." And they were just like, "You're gonna be fine, hold on a while, you don't want to do too much of that stuff right now, and you're gonna have to go to surgery." So I couldn't really take a lot of stuff or do a lot of things because I was already gonna have surgery. And so, I just kept remembering, man, I just want this to be over with.
After sitting in trauma for nearly 3 hours, they finally performed the first procedure prior to the surgery, which is to get the patient's fracture back in place and wrap the injury to prep for surgery.
Before they could even have surgery, they do some sort of procedure. The procedure's pretty brutal. They take your hand and the bone and they just really align it. But before they do that, they give you some crazy medication. They gave me this medication and I could have sworn I was in like another dimension. They explained that they were gonna make an incision here and an incision here, and they were gonna put 2 metal plates to hold the bone together, and that's how they were gonna fix the situation.
It was pretty long surgery. I was there for like 2.5 hours. I even asked a few times to the nurses, was everything okay? Because it seemed to be taking long. I thought it would be a pretty quick surgery, and it wasn't.
Once I came out of surgery, my daughter and my wife were waiting, and it made me feel better that there was a support system there to help me get through my trauma.
They said I got they had to put
You got what?
metal plates.
You got metal plates in your arm? Oh no.
After the surgery, Boogie stayed in the hospital for several days to perform physical therapy before being released by his physician.
I ended up having to stay 3-4 days in the hospital. My wife stayed with me one of the nights because they didn't allow family members to stay, but she did, and brought me some food, and we laughed and we talked and watched television and whatnot. I couldn't wait to get out of the hospital. I was just scared to leave the hospital because I didn't know this, to the extent of my injuries, but I really did want to go home. And so they told me that I was gonna get released, and sure enough, got out of the hospital and I was on my way home.
It's always good to have someone great in your corner when things go wrong. Isn't that right, honey? Get over here. Because I'm going to tell you something. I almost died in the desert.
In over a month, and Boogie finally has a chance to meet his operating physician at his first doctor's appointment since the accident.
So, I've already visited the doctor. So last week, me and my wife, we went and we saw the orthopedic, And this was the first time that I actually saw my arm after the surgery. And they cut off the bandages, you know, they took off the wrap and gauze. When I first saw my arm, I thought, oh my God, it was horrible. I have several stitches from my wrist all the way to my elbow, to the top of my forearm. And on the opposite side, I have a huge hole where the bone actually poked out. To even look at the x-rays, I mean, it's a nightmare. Sometimes the signs are all there. You know, I once heard someone say, if you listen to the whispers, you don't have to hear the screams. And now I understand what that means. You know, the energy being low. You know, me and the wife not talking that morning much, and you know, just feeling the way I was feeling trying to go up the mountain. You know, everything was there. It was hot. There were no other bikers there, and usually there's bikers on trails. You know, here and there, or somewhat, one or two. For the longest time, I saw no other bikers. I was literally there alone.
Boogie now understands how important it is to listen to your subconscious as well as your conscious mind, and realizes that things could have been prevented prior to this life-changing event.
I think he could have not gone on trails by himself. I think that he could have chose safer trails. I think being a beginner biker, he could have took his time.
You have to listen. You have to listen to what your gut tells you, because your gut could save your life.
He could have did a lot of things differently.
You know, if there was anything that I could have changed about that day, I would have just stayed at home with my wife and had tea and maybe watched a good couple of movies or so.
Next time he goes to the doctor, we'll find out more information in regards to his arm, and he'll be able to function normal with his arm and different things like that.
It's been a little bit over a month, and I can't wait to get back bike riding, obviously a little bit more safer, and you know, get back out there and do it again, because one thing in life is for certain. When something happens to you that knocks you down, you don't stay down, you get back up. And that's basically what I'm doing. I'm getting back up. You know, I'm out here hiking. I'm still doing, you know, daily activities, and still growing as a person. So, you know, I learned a lot from this experience. And what I've learned, anything can happen in an instant.
God damn it.
Something tells me it's the end. I can't lie, I can't pretend. There's no way I'm turning back. I can see it fade to black. Fade to black. Won't you show me who I am? Won't somebody hold my hand? There's no way I'm going back. I can feel it fade to black. Fade to black.